In the fourth year I was with Leah, she cheated on me. What was even more shocking was that the new guy was Ryan Thompson, the same punk who made my life hell in high school. Back then, Ryan had Leah cornered in a classroom, refusing to let her leave. I stumbled upon the scene by chance and stepped in to help her. Ryan held a grudge. A few nights later, he and a bunch of his friends jumped me as payback. One of them stabbed me in the leg. The doctor said I'd walk with a limp for the rest of my life. And because it happened in a blind spot with no security cameras, we couldn't prove a thing. The stress of it all was too much for my mom. She took her own life. After that, I just drifted, my days blurring together in a haze of nothing. When Leah got into the state university, her mom refused to pay for it. So I got a job and worked to put her through school. The night she got her grad school acceptance letter, we were at home celebrating. She handed me a glass of wine. I drank it and passed out. As I slipped into unconsciousness, I saw her face twist, her eyes filled with a chilling hatred. "This is all your fault," she hissed. "You ruined my chance to be with Ryan. Being with you is the reason my life has been so damn hard all these years." My soul felt like it was pulling away from my body. I saw her then, curled up in Ryan's arms, her expression fawning and obsequious. "Ree," she cooed, "it's always been you." And then I was given a second chance. A do-over. This time, I decided to give her exactly what she wanted. I opened my eyes, and I was reborn. I was back on that same day, the day Leah was being harassed by Ryan. In a classroom, just like before, Ryan had her cornered. I watched it all unfold from the hallway window. Leah, terrified, kept backing into a corner of the room. Ryan kept advancing on her, closing the distance until she had nowhere left to run. "Leah," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance, "be my girlfriend." She sank to the floor, her voice a trembling whisper. "No, please." He wouldn't let up, grabbing her by the arm. "Come on, Leah. Say yes. I'll be good to you. I promise." Ryan was notorious for charming his way through half the girls in school. None of his relationships ever lasted long. He easily pulled Leah to her feet and wrapped his arms around her. "Leah," he murmured, "I'll treat you right. Just give me a chance." From her position, trapped in his embrace, she saw me. A blush spread across her face. I couldn't tell if it was from the embarrassment of being seen like this, or from Ryan's intense, if forced, declaration of love. She pushed against his chest, trying to shove him away, but the difference in their strength was obvious. Her efforts were useless. Her pushes turned into weak punches against his back. He didn't budge, holding her tight, whispering cheesy lines about how much he loved her. With no other option, she looked at me, her eyes pleading for help. Just like in my past life, her eyes welled up, a film of tears making them shine, ready to spill over at any moment. But this time, my sympathy didn't kick in. As she begged me with her eyes, I pretended not to see a thing and casually walked past the classroom window. I walked out of the school and didn't look back. This time, I wouldn't get in the way of her and Ryan. She'd be happy about that, right? In my first life, I saw her being cornered by that punk Ryan, and my sense of justice took over. I opened the classroom door. It was the first real fight I'd ever been in at school. I was in good shape from sports, and Ryan couldn't handle me. He took a few solid punches and ended up with a bloody lip. He clutched his face and spat out a threat. "You're dead, Miller." Then he scrambled away. Leah stood up, her eyes wide with gratitude, and whispered a thank you. We had been neighbors for years, but had never really spoken. I only knew about her family situation from the gossip I'd overhear from the old folks in our apartment complex. Her dad was never around, and her mom blatantly favored her little brother, making her life miserable. In my mind, she had always been the quiet, well-behaved girl. That was the first time we ever had a real conversation. I walked Leah home that day. The entire walk was silent. Neither of us knew what to say. It wasn't until we reached my building that I broke the silence. "Well, this is me," I said, just to be polite. I took a couple of steps toward the door, but her voice stopped me. "Jake, can we be friends?" I looked at her hopeful expression and nodded. The next morning, she was waiting for me downstairs. I split my breakfast sandwich with her. Little by little, we got closer. We started walking to and from school together every day. Sometimes after school, I'd have basketball practice, and she'd sit on the bleachers, doing her homework while she waited for me. My head was spinning back then. It was a strange, wonderful feeling. We were like friends, but there was something more simmering just beneath the surface. I enjoyed it. It felt good. That feeling made me forget all about Ryan and his threat. Then, one perfectly normal evening, as Leah and I were walking home, Ryan and a crew of older guys he knew blocked our path. I did my best to hold them back, to give Leah a chance to run. Countless fists and feet rained down on me, but I barely felt the pain. All I could think about was getting her away from there, keeping her safe. Only after I saw her disappear from sight did I feel the sharp, searing pain in my leg. One of them had a knife and had recklessly plunged it into my thigh. When they saw the blood and the knife, they scattered like rats. A kind stranger found me and got me to the hospital. The knife had severed my Achilles tendon. I was going to have a limp for the rest of my life. In the hospital, when the doctor explained the situation to my mom, she nearly collapsed. But she pulled herself together. As a single mother, she had always been strong for me. She sat by my bed, tears streaming down her face, and swore she would get justice for me. After I was discharged, my mom poured every penny we had into suing Ryan. But there were no cameras in that alley. Ryan's family was rich and well-connected, and we had no hard evidence. My mom exhausted all our savings on lawyers, but we lost the case. She had always been a proud woman. The defeat, the injustice of all, broke her. She jumped from the roof of our apartment building. Crushed by it all, I didn't even take the SATs. As I was trying to figure out what to do with my shattered future, Leah knocked on my door. Her face was streaked with tears. The same look she'd had that day. Ryan cornered her. "Jake, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "This is all my fault. If it weren't for me, this never would have happened to you." I shut the door in her face. What was done was done. Apologies were useless. I knew it wasn't technically her fault, but I couldn't stop the thought from creeping in. If I hadn't helped her, my mom would still be alive. I didn't want to see her. For a while after that, she brought me food every day. "Jake," she told me, "I'll take care of you for the rest of my life." She was like a single ray of light in my dark, miserable existence. Her conviction moved me. I started letting her in. From that day on, our relationship returned to what it was before. As the days turned into weeks, we opened up to each other. The day college acceptance letters came out, she told me she'd gotten into a pretty good state school, but her mom refused to pay her tuition. An idea formed in my mind. That whole summer, I worked from sunrise to sunset as a food delivery driver. I finally scraped together enough money to pay for her first semester. The day she left for college, she hugged me tightly, thanking me over and over. While she was away at school, she'd text me every day, telling me all about campus life. I was secretly envious and felt a growing urge to be near her, to be part of that world. I worked nonstop for another 2 months, saved up every dollar I could, and moved to her college town. I rented the cheapest apartment I could find and got a job as the night clerk at a 24-hour convenience store. That way, I could deliver food during the day and work the night shift. 2 jobs meant more income. Once I was settled, I wanted to find her. I hadn't seen her in over 2 months, and she looked more beautiful than ever. She was wearing a gray trench coat. Her hair, once always in a high ponytail, now fell over her shoulders. I took her out for all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue. After that, whenever she didn't have class, I'd go see her. Our relationship naturally progressed, and we started dating. I told her to just focus on her studies and not to worry about money. And so, I supported her for 4 years. She even got into grad school. Just when I was starting to dream about our future together, she shattered everything. I thought we would live happily ever after, get married, have kids. But I was wrong. The night we were celebrating her acceptance into grad school, I collapsed after drinking the wine she handed me. "This is all your fault," she said. "You ruined my chance to be with Ryan. Being with you is the reason my life has been so damn hard all these years." It was only then that I realized she had regretted being with me for all those years. As my soul drifted, I saw her, dressed in a red dress, lying in Ryan's arms. She was wearing flawless makeup, her face a mask of flattery as she whispered sweet nothings to him. "Ree, it's always been you. I only love you." Ryan's eyes were full of amusement. He held a wine glass in one hand, the other wrapped around her waist. He asked her in a slick, patronizing voice, "What about that loser?" Leah glanced toward the kitchen. "A loser belongs in the trash," she replied cryptically. I couldn't stand to watch them anymore. I lunged forward, throwing a punch at Ryan's face, but my fist passed right through him. He felt nothing. It wasn't until Ryan carried her into the bedroom that reality hit me. All my years of sacrifice were nothing but a joke to her. When I opened my eyes, I was back. This time, I would grant her wish. After I walked away that day, Leah didn't immediately say yes to Ryan. When I came back to school on Monday, I saw that Ryan's pursuit of her had become relentless. He did all the things a teenager thinks are cool. During gym class, he'd get his friends to surround her while he sang her a cheesy love song. In big lectures, he'd kick out whoever was sitting next to her so he could take their seat. Thanks to his family's influence and his reputation as a troublemaker, the teachers just looked the other way. The other students avoided him like the plague. No one was willing to help Leah. Even the friends she used to have in class were now keeping their distance. The only person who said anything was Mr. Henderson, the old, eccentric civics teacher who liked to chat with students after class. One day, he casually but pointedly directed his words at Leah. "At your age, you should be focused on your books," he said, "not on romance. For young women especially, education is your surest path forward." Everyone knew he was talking to Leah. All eyes turned to her. She shrank in her seat, her face turning bright red as she stared down at her textbook, silent. The words were harsh, but they were for her own good. But Leah couldn't hear it. I knew her. Having lived her whole life under her mother's thumb, she had a built-in aversion to any kind of criticism, no matter how well-intentioned. I remembered how, in our first life, she'd get terrible cramps, and I'd tell her to cut back on cold drinks, but she never listened. Yet she'd cry with gratitude when I brought her a heating pad, because it was a tangible act of kindness. She was starved for affection. She only wanted to hear things that made her feel good. I learned that lesson and made a point to always encourage and praise her. But over time, my constant validation made her arrogant, and she started to think she was too good for me. I was trying to build her confidence, but I was just digging my own grave. 2 weeks later, Leah agreed to be Ryan's girlfriend. I wasn't surprised at all. For 2 weeks, she had been weathering the cold shoulders of her classmates and teachers. Ryan was the only one paying her any attention. When you've been living in the dark for so long, you'll grab at any flicker of light. So of course she said yes. What was strange was what happened after. It was like she was doing everything she had been too afraid to do in our past life. She was always with Ryan, constantly doing rebellious things, smoking in the bathroom, sneaking out to clubs after school. Leah's personality changed, too. The timid girl was gone, replaced by someone confident, calm, and eventually downright arrogant. When someone mocked her, she would fire back without hesitation. Sometimes, if a student so much as glanced at her, she'd roll her eyes and curse at them. Even Mr. Henderson, the teacher who tried to warn her, recently had an accident, falling down the stairs and breaking his leg. Stranger still, in the most recent round of mock exams, Leah scored first in our entire grade. Soon, everyone was afraid of her. No one dared to cross her anymore, and her life in class became much easier. But where there is oppression, there will be resistance. One of the students, she'd lashed out and couldn't take it anymore. They secretly started a private group chat to complain about Leah and added almost everyone else in our class. Someone posted anonymously, "Does anyone else think Leah's test scores are suspicious?" The chat flooded with replies. Ryan definitely gave her the answers. "I heard his aunt is the principal." "Yeah, no way she earned that score herself." "I agree. I heard about these new high-tech cheating devices. Maybe she bought one. She doesn't seem like she has the money for that." Everyone threw out their own theories. It was clear that a lot of people in our class couldn't stand her anymore. After all, her grades had been average when she was studying hard, and now she was acing every test while partying all the time. Anyone would be suspicious. Once the first person brought it up, a chorus of agreement followed. No one likes to see someone they consider beneath them suddenly shoot to the top. Envy is a powerful thing. Even the teachers called her in for a meeting. Only I knew the truth. Her scores were her own, because she had memories of her past life, too. A person can't just completely transform into someone else overnight. Unless, of course, she was no longer the Leah of this timeline. And what happened next only confirmed my suspicions. On my way home from school, I noticed her following me. Lately, I caught her staring at me in class. While I'd meet her gaze, she wouldn't look away. She'd just keep staring as if she was trying to see right through me. It was obvious. She suspected me. She wanted to know if I, like her, had an extra set of memories. To avoid any unnecessary trouble, I'd always quickly look away, pretending to be shy. But that wasn't enough to quell her suspicions. She wanted to be sure. Jake. Her voice came from right behind me. I stopped and turned stiffly, putting on a look of confusion. Yeah, can I help you with something? Her eyes were filled with scorn. She looked down at my right leg and said slowly, deliberately, there seems to be something wrong with your leg. In my past life, it was my right leg that had been injured. She must have noticed me favoring it out of habit. I calmly lifted my right leg. The sole of my old sneaker was loose, and the front part flapped down pathetically as I raised my foot. I looked at her, my voice laced with annoyance. Satisfied. Then, as she stared with a look of disgust, I turned and walked away. I had anticipated this. As soon as I realized she was testing me, I came up with a plan. I deliberately exaggerated my limp, letting her believe her suspicions were correct, only to pull the rug out from under her with a simple, mundane explanation. I wanted nothing to do with her. After that, her suspicion of me mostly vanished. She went back to her romance with Ryan with a renewed sense of confidence. But things are never as simple as they seem. With Leah and Ryan officially a couple, trouble wasn't far behind. On a Wednesday at lunch, Ryan's close friend, Ashley, showed up at our classroom. Ashley was one of his best friends, the kind of platonic relationship no one really believed, and she was the leader of the most notorious clique in school. She had a history of bullying Ryan's previous girlfriends, and he had never once stepped in. When those ex-girlfriends complained to him, he'd call them petty. When Ashley and her crew appeared at our classroom door, everyone braced for a show, eager to see Leah get taken down a peg. But Leah did something completely unexpected. After Ashley slapped her across the face, she just slumped on her desk and started crying. It was a stark contrast to the tough-as-nails persona she'd been projecting. Everyone was stunned. So stunned, in fact, that no one noticed Ryan standing at the edge of the crowd, watching everything. While Ashley was still gloating over the crying Leah, Ryan pushed through the crowd and stormed up to her. In a flash, a loud smack echoed through the room. Ryan had slapped Ashley right in front of everyone. Then, under the shocked gazes of the entire class, he grabbed Leah and stormed out of the room. Ashley and her friends could do nothing but leave in humiliation. After that incident, combined with Leah acing several more exams, people started to accept the new reality. The group chat went quiet. No one questioned her grades anymore. The students who had disliked her before did a complete 180. A few girls, seeing which way the wind was blowing, started acting like her best friends. Even more bizarrely, some of the more dramatic girls thought what Ryan did was romantic and openly said they envied Leah. But while they were now on her side, no one told her about the group chat. No one was stupid enough to become the traitor and face the wrath of the entire class. Their newfound friendship was purely superficial. These fair-weather friends were just making a temporary choice. The moment Leah fell from grace, the backlash would be even more vicious. I looked forward to that day. I just didn't expect it to come so soon. Within a month, Ryan dumped Leah. It wasn't a shock. It was classic Ryan. Besides, for people like him, the chase is always better than the catch. What comes easy is discarded just as quickly. Everyone knew it was bound to happen sooner or later. Only Leah was devastated. She couldn't accept it. Throwing away all her pride, she went looking for Ryan. It was almost comical to watch. She was so desperate to hold on to him, the future success story. Any chance she got, she would find Ryan clinging to him. She even climbed onto the roof of an old, abandoned warehouse, threatening to jump. Everyone thought Leah had lost her mind. Some of the same students who had made fun of her now felt sorry for her, telling her Ryan wasn't worth it. But she wouldn't listen, throwing herself at him like a moth to a flame. And, through her relentless efforts, she succeeded. At the last possible second, Ryan pulled her back from the edge. She clung to him, refusing to let go. That weekend, a bombshell dropped in the group chat. Leah and Ryan had been seen going into a hotel. A classmate who had been out for a weekend basketball game snapped a picture of them. Everyone went wild, calling it scandalous. In high school, that kind of thing was still a huge deal, a subject of intense curiosity and gossip. But the cruelty of high school is a simple, thoughtless kind of cruelty. When something like this happens to a girl, the rumors spread like wildfire. On Monday morning, everyone in the classroom acted like nothing was different. But when Ryan walked Leah to her desk, students exchanged knowing glances, smirks playing on their lips. It was a silent, malicious understanding. The guys who were always goofing off in the back were the worst, no doubt inventing all sorts of lurid details. None of it was my problem. These were her choices. On the surface, everything was calm. Beneath, the currents were churning. Leah, however, seemed oblivious to it all, completely lost in her rekindled romance. After getting back together with Ryan, she became even more reckless. They were constantly all over each other at school, making everyone around them uncomfortable. The story spread. Soon, the whole school knew about them. Someone even pulled a cruel prank, scrawling Leah's name and number on the wall of the boys' bathroom. Her reputation was completely trashed, but she didn't care about any of that. All that mattered was being with Ryan. Then one day, Leah just stopped coming to school. She was gone for the rest of the semester. A classmate posted in the group chat that they'd seen her at the hospital. The gossip mill started churning again. Someone guessed she probably threatened to jump again after they broke up, and she's in a hospital recovering. Another said she's probably pregnant and at the hospital for that. As the speculation flew, a new member joined the group chat. It was Ryan, and to everyone's shock, he was there to spill the tea. Ryan laid out everything for the whole class to see. "I'm here to set the record straight," he wrote. "Leah and I hooked up, and she got pregnant. It happens, it's not a big deal. I tried to do the right thing. I told her I'd give her money, but the bitch said no. She said she wanted to have the baby. Can you believe that? Fucking hilarious. Then her mom found out and dragged her over to my house to cause a scene. Claimed it wasn't about the money. In the end, my family had to write a fat check to get her mom to drop it." He seemed proud of the whole sordid affair. A few of his cronies chimed in. "Ryan, you're the man. Dude, teach us your ways." The praise went to his head, and he got cocky, losing all filter. "I even have pictures of Leah," he typed. "Who wants to see?" He then created a separate, private group with those guys to share the photos. Afterward, they came back to the main chat, bragging about what they'd seen and calling it intense. The group chat continued to buzz with gossip about Leah for a while. It eventually died down as the semester break approached. Things like that are only exciting when they're fresh. After a while, they fade into the background. People hear the story, get their thrill, and then move on, forgetting it ever happened. After the break started, the chat was mostly dead, save for a few happy holidays messages. But while they all got to move on, I couldn't escape it. Leah and I lived in the same apartment complex. Throughout the winter break, neighbors would occasionally stop by to chat with my mom. Most of the gossip was about Leah's family. I don't know how those nosy old ladies found out everything, but they did. I pieced together the rest of the story from their conversations. The pregnancy was only part of it. They talked more about how Leah's mother was notorious in the complex for favoring her son. After getting the payout from Ryan's family, she took Leah to get an abortion but cheaps out and chose the least expensive procedure. Then she took the rest of the money and started shopping for an apartment for her son. Since Leah was out of school anyway, her mom found her a job at the local diner where she worked. She wanted Leah to start earning her keep. Leah refused to go, so her mother locked her in her room every day, not letting her leave. You could hear her crying at all hours, keeping the neighbors up at night. One neighbor went to confront Leah's mom and was promptly thrown out. After hearing all this, my mom told me to stay far away from a girl like that. I told her she didn't have to worry. I spent my days studying. It had been so long, and the material felt both familiar and foreign. I knew I had to work twice as hard as everyone else. This time, I was going to get into a good college. I was going to have a better life. Busy days fly by. Soon enough, it was time to go back to school for the new semester. The SATs were just around the corner. Leah didn't return to school. She caved and started working at the diner under her mom's watchful eye. Her mother was too embarrassed to let her go back. Even though Leah had the memories of her past life, she had spent all her time in school and had no real-world experience. I guess that besides her mother's constant surveillance, she was also just plain scared. She must have been truly desperate, because one day, she managed to find me when her mom was distracted. I was walking home late after a study session when I saw a familiar figure huddled by the bushes in our complex. It was Leah crouched down, her head in her hands, sobbing quietly. The moment I realized it was her, I quickened my pace, trying to get away. But her voice, choked with tears, called out from behind me. Jake. I turned. Her eyes were pleading. Can you please help me? She was trying to play on my sympathy again. I looked at her and asked coldly, how? I figured that giving her a glimmer of hope only to snatch it away would be far crueler than a direct refusal. But I never expected that the help she wanted was for me to deliver a letter to Ryan. He blocked me everywhere, she said, her voice frantic and pathetic. My mom watches me like a hawk every second of the day. You're the only person I could ask. Her desperation did nothing to stir any pity in me. Looking at the broken girl in front of me, I was reminded of the way she looked in our past life when she told me her mom wouldn't pay for college. She was just as pitiful then. I didn't say anything. When she saw her mother approaching in the distance, she panicked, shoved the letter into my hand, and ran to meet her. Watching her walk away, I had a laugh. It was all an act. All of it. In my past life, I had given her everything, and it meant nothing to her. This life, Ryan treated her like garbage, and she was still desperately crawling back to him. At the next corner, I tossed the letter into a trash can. I knew it didn't matter whether I gave it to him or not. Ryan wouldn't give her the time of day. For someone who had lived twice, she hadn't gotten any smarter. After that, I didn't see Leah again. She never got the chance to ask me about the letter. I made sure to deliberately avoid any time or place where our paths might cross. I let her live each day, suspended between hope and despair. The days ticked by, and soon it was time for the SATs. Her mother, afraid Leah would try to sneak out and take the test, locked her in the apartment. As I walked to the testing center, just as I was about to leave our complex, I felt a pair of eyes on my back. I didn't turn around. I knew that behind the window on the 6th floor of her building, Leah was watching me. Even from a distance, I could feel her despair. A smirk spread across my face. Good. A miserable life was exactly what she deserved. The day before the exams, some idiot who had given up on his own scores got drunk and forwarded the chat history from Ryan's private group to Leah. The pictures, the ones Ryan had shared with all those guys. I wonder how she felt, seeing what the boy she loved so much was really saying and doing behind her back. In the middle of the exam, 2 police officers walked into the testing room and escorted Ryan out. It seemed she wasn't a complete fool after all. She must have shown the messages to her mother. Her mom, of course, would never pass up an opportunity to make some money. She went straight to the police and filed a report against Ryan. The final verdict came down. Ryan was sentenced to 6 months in juvenile detention, suspended for 2 years. Leah's family got another large payout. With the new money, her mom stopped forcing her to work and let her do whatever she wanted. But it was too late. The SATs were over. Leah wouldn't be going to college like she did in her last life. But I would. My scores came back. They were excellent. I enrolled in a prestigious university. I finally got to experience the college life I had always dreamed of. It was simple and busy. Simple meant going from class to my dorm, with occasional nights out with friends. Busy meant spending hours in the library or working a part-time job. In the midst of it all, I received a text from Leah. Jake, I had a dream. In the dream, when Ryan was harassing me, you were the one who saved me. We ended up together. I went to school, you worked, and we were so happy. You were so good to me. Jake, I love you. Can you be with me? I had to admit, she had a vivid imagination. She still wanted to use me as her safety net. She'd had her memories of our past life all along. She could have used that knowledge to get into a good school and build a perfect life for herself. But she chose the shortcut. She chose Ryan. In our first life, she was always studying, always complaining about how tired she was. That's why I worked so hard to take the pressure off her, to let her focus on her goals. I never imagined she would choose the easiest, most degrading path instead. Given a second chance, she thought she was making the correct choice. That's why she fell for Ryan so easily and tried every trick in the book to keep him. She just underestimated how much of a scumbag he truly was. I didn't reply. I didn't block her number. She no longer even qualified as a footnote in my life story. But she was persistent. Jake, I know you like me. Why are you ignoring me? Just say the word, and I'll come to your school right now. She was still clinging to the memory of my unconditional devotion from our past life. I continued to ignore her. I figured she would eventually give up. I was wrong. She came to find me. It was the middle of winter, snow was falling, and somehow she had managed to sneak onto campus and find my dorm. She arranged candles in the shape of a heart on the ground below my window and stood in the center of it. She held a megaphone and shouted up at the building, "Jake Miller, I love you. I want you to be my boyfriend." In an instant, the entire dorm erupted. Students who didn't know the story started cheering and chanting in unison. "Say yes, say yes." To these strangers, it probably looked like a brave, romantic gesture. They were just trying to be supportive. But I never show my face. I let her stand down there, a clown in her own circus. My roommates knew who she was shouting for, but they respected my silence and didn't pressure me to do anything. After a few hours of standing in the snow, the resident advisor finally convinced her to leave. But it wasn't over. Someone had filmed the whole thing and posted it online. The video went viral with the headline, "Girl's brave public confession met with silence as guy refuses to even show his face." And coincidentally, the day after the video blew up, Leah started her own social media account. I knew then what this was really about. She didn't want to be with me. She wanted to be an influencer. She was trying to use the drama and public sympathy to get famous. But people have seen this kind of marketing scheme a million times before. Aside from a few outliers who defended her, most of the comments were critical of her actions. A proposal is what you do when you're already sure of the other person's feelings. This is just a way to confirm the relationship. Doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl. A public confession like this is just a form of emotional blackmail. You have to love yourself before anyone else can love you. Online commenters aren't the easily swayed mob they used to be. They're clear-eyed, rational observers. Because of their collective pushback, Leah didn't become the famous influencer she had dreamed of becoming. After that whole debacle, she vanished. It was like she had evaporated from the face of the earth. No one saw her again. Years after graduation, the old high school group chat, long dormant, suddenly lit up with a shocking piece of news. A guy from our class posted, "You guys won't believe this, but Leah Collins is working at a massage place in a strip mall. I went to get a massage the other day and it was her." After the text, he posted a picture. It was Leah in a cheap uniform, kneeling on the floor. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her eyes were filled with exhaustion. She looked nothing like the polished, beautiful woman she had been at the end of our first life. The guy then started bragging. I just tipped her an extra $100, and she burst into tears and told me her whole life story. It's actually pretty sad. She spent the last couple of years working odd jobs and got scammed out of her money. When she went home, her loser brother had gambled away all the family savings. To get more money, her mom sold her to some guy in a rural town to be his wife. She said he beat her every day. She finally escaped, but was too scared to go home. So now she's just working here to get by. I figured, she's had it rough. We were classmates. I should help her out a bit. People are so hypocritical. He was the same guy who had sent Leah the chat history and the photos. He had tried to play the hero back then, but she had ignored him. Now, he finally had his chance. I turned off my phone. Everything Leah got, she deserved. It had nothing to do with me.